Welcome everyone to another Linux internals video I didn't plan to make. I just, previous video, wanted to modernize our T2, just one of the best Linux distributions. Installer implementation details for LVM, which were a little bit broken because, as usual, I didn't really use it. 15 years ago, some other people submitted some patches. They didn't look the most amazing. They were applied anyway because now YOLO, I don't use it. And now I realized, oh boy, were their implementation marginalities. But so I'm improving here some installer stuff, and I discovered some really annoying things that even I didn't quite remember or noticed earlier that they were like that. So the issue is, so I already reworked some installer stuff to directly support LVM2 volume groups directly and better and stuff. And while working on this, you are right, I tested this. So I noticed one strange thing, that when I mounted so normally, so the issue is that Linux is using multiple passes, right? For this modern, this is also LVM2, LVM1 was more imperfect, abandonware decades ago. So LVM2, of course, with Devmapper, also in the meantime 15 years or so old. And so if you mount this, I noticed here my scripting, like scripting this way in shell script, but it doesn't matter. Even if you would implement this in C, C++, Rust, Zig, Swift, Go, Nim, Ruby, Perl, PHP, Python stuff, it would be the same, right? I find shell scripting just convenient. So you notice that my own script here does say currently not mounted, right? And I was wondering, like, why the bloody heck does it say not mounted? And I debugged this, of course. And so it turns out you mount this with dev vg0 root, of course, volume group. The names depend on what you name this, but this is kind of sort of default. Volume group 0, I named this root, swap, serve data home, you get it. So, and what happens behind the back when you now take a look here, this is not what I asked for, right? This is using Devmapper vg0 root. It's like what is going on there? So read some manual and sources and stuff. Turns out modern mount versions, I'm pretty sure mount didn't probably do that a decade ago. So that must probably be new, but don't quote me on that if you want to take a look. If you want to bisect it and stuff, I guess that is relatively newish. So there is an option -c -no canonicalize. Don't canonicalize paths. The mount command canonicalizes all paths from the command line or fstab by default. This option can be used together with the -f flag for already canonicalized absolute paths. The option is designed for mount helpers which call mount-i. It is strongly recommended not to use this command line option for normal mount operations. So what is happening here is that mount is canonicalizing this path. So it's looking up, like you give it mount vg0 root, and the mount command looks up in /dev or probably /sys or whatever. I didn't look all the implementation details. So it's iterating, traversing all those symlinks. It's also, maybe it's simply checking symlinks actually. Hot guess, because that is symlink. Maybe it's simply, maybe I'm overthinking this, maybe theoretically, possibly it's instead of, because it would be too implementation defined of like looking, also performance. So that is super annoying for multiple reasons. I understand where they come from. This was probably implemented by one script is using this, another user is using that, fstab. Like, I get where that kind of makes sense, that if you use different names to canonicalize that to some common name. But this is stupid and a fail on multiple reasons, and hashtag peatbugs, right? It's causing bugs everywhere because obviously the user, or like glorified installation front ends, right? Nobody would want to use bloody mapper vg0-root. Of course, you use normal, you specify as a user or UI command line, UI front ends, you specify basically vg0 root, and because that is so much more human readable and smaller and shorter and stuff, you would want to use it, right? And I mean, either either we have human readable names because they're more amazing or not. But this is basically the worst of both worlds. We have human readable names, except they are translated, and then behind the back you anyway see the canonicalized internal names, which is, I mean, this name is also stupid. I mean, theoretically, that is even, I actually wonder what happens. Actually, I didn't try that. Also, so what are the alternatives, right? So in T2, I probably will mount all the stuff now with -C now, because the problem is, normally you wouldn't want, and this is also attention to detail and perfection, right? This is the stuff Steve Jobs would have done, and Linus Torvalds just like, whatever, I don't care. Does it boot? Performance? Okay, check mark, release. By the way, also, I guess you could design a much more coherent and more amazing operating system. Alternatives. I mean, if this human readable names should not be used, then don't bloody create the symlinks, right? I mean, why create those bloody symlinks if you're not going to use it in all the system? And then another way to implement this, theoretically, and this is not even the unique name, right? Devmapper VG0, actually, I wonder, because the internal name is actually, I slightly wonder that is even, because the internal name is, in this is Z1, right? Yeah, so that is the same. So this canonicalization is, this is somehow stupid, to be honest. By the way, is that a hard link? I have to, by the way, it's a little bit strange that one has a root disk and the other root. And wait, no, it's not hard link. No, they are individually created. Strange stuff. But they have the same major minor device ID. So yeah, because it's not really canonicalized, right? At least in this installation configuration stuff you'd have. Because very theoretically the kernel internal name is DM2, which is also stupid, by the way. And another way to solve that, so I will just -C because again, it makes no sense if you ask the kernel to mount something that it then internally or user space export something else. There are two other alternatives. Of course, although possibilities are endless, and certainly you can implement it in 1,000 different ways. There are two major alternatives. One would be if the Linux kernel would in general use human readable names, right? If the kernel wouldn't internally create dm-number, but the kernel would internally already create vg0-root, which would be another solution to the problem. Because right now it is entirely stupid, because we have devdm2, which is what the kernel uses internally, then devmapper vg0-root, which are what other mapper management tools use, and then we have the human, more readable symlink dev vg0/root. It's like modern Linux at its finest. It is amazing. I wonder what I wanted to say 2 minutes ago. Cheers, hydration. I wonder what happens if you mount dev dm2. What do you get now? Ah no, this actually is interesting. So then I don't have strath here though. I would have expected, so then my theory, but yeah, read the freaking sources. My theory of just following the symlinks is not true. So mount is doing some more elaborative stuff that we could simply strace, except I don't have strace in this install environment. But yeah, so this is extremely stupid. I would also say it doesn't make sense to canonicalize to mapper vg0 when, I mean, okay, it actually makes a little bit more sense because it's more human readable than dm-2, right? But like, why do we even freaking have dm-2 if anybody canonicalizes to devmapper vg0-root and normal humans would want to use dev vg0-root? So the problem is, as per usual, I now need to go through changing all the source sources everywhere, because if I just change, and today the recurring theme here, bro, you're not using syntax highlighting, yo, okay. I hear you, here's syntax highlighting that you can better follow along at home. So yeah, we can simply mount with -c to work around that. Where is it even? Is that mount? So that would be here. But we likely also need to change the boot up script, because I mean we could also patch mount to default to canonicalize. The only problem is incompatibilities. As much as I hate this kind of not thought through, imperfect modern Linux-isms of all the other handful of major wannabe business Linux distributions where all the kernel plumbers work. What was my thought? Yeah, then it's totally incompatible, and if you Google stuff, if you search the internet and stuff, then yeah, all the stuff doesn't match. So I better patch only the startup script. I mean, usually manually you don't really mount the stuff manually, and if you do, then you probably don't care that much that it translates to mapper, whatever stuff. Mounting crypt setup device on directory. What do you have, for example? Whatever, something. For the only other thing is it's a little bit error prone. Mount. Okay, this doesn't need canonicalization. It is stupid, right? And yeah, I don't need to test. So yeah, I mean, I for sure need to change the system boot. I probably can do that already. Do we have that here, or probably somewhere like at least mount root? Where would that be? And yeah, this is how, if you think you can finally release in 3 years, like 25 years, 3 years left on YouTube, you still find crazy stuff. Although I would need, I mean, maybe I should actually check the history to mount. Yeah, okay, whatever. Git basic or stuff. So unmount probably doesn't need that. What do you have here? Mounting, syncing, read only, and unmounting. The question is, does remount need that? I guess we will see. Mount, what do we have here? Mounting proxies, -head PTS. Where is local file systems? Boot mode -rv boot. Here, mounting local file systems. So this is old stuff that we recently saw. Probably C. Mount A, or should we? Actually, maybe that's the least. I usually order this stuff by importance. So A, maybe C, just not its like kinder importance, and then also readability. Like if this stuff is super long, then maybe not hide it at the end. Probably. No, actually, wait a second. This was a bug that belongs there. So yeah, mount -nco. I need to shortly. Oops. Nothing like introducing a bug with prettifying your code. Yeah, probably like that. Do we have more? Refresh, yada yada, something. It is crazy. I also don't know. And the crazy stuff is, like, people from IBM and Oracle, I think IBM, as far as I remember, probably IBM created the LVM2 stuff. Maybe I should fact check that. Linux LVM2 IBM, or at least from my memory it was. Maybe developed by IBM, but maybe I misremember that. Maybe we check this in a second when we continue the installation. So basically, did we unmount that now? No. So let's mount that. So that would be dash C, dash C. And as you see, I had a poll there in previous video. So it's basically like, is everything else, by the way, mounted? Did I not? It's going not mounted. Mount. Create whatever. I will actually also test and try to implement, if it doesn't just work, encrypted on LVM2. I actually use this on my servers, but usually I set this up manually. It's just basically, I think 8 gigs should be large enough for this stuff, right? It's basically just making more. I will not make everything like RAID 5 and stuff, but like at least simple LVM2 directly usable from this simple setup tool 1 there. So it was IBM, no? But this is also, I ask for LVM2 and then you get logical volume manager. Oh no, actually this is, did I misremember that? Maybe just IBM had the first articles about that. Always nice to look around some surrounding information. Nothing like downloading the shit and then bloody macOS will not even, oh no, it will display it. Often it will then, it doesn't allow to open the shit. Is this even LVM? But this is LVM1. It's like, what the heck? Yeah. So, and so yeah, now we have VG0 root in there, which previously was mapper and shit. Because the problem was also that I already wondered yesterday that I recently, some month ago, implemented grub support, and that also didn't work anymore, right? So this is not only the paths in the installer and human readable stuff, but the alternative solution would be to canonicalize paths everywhere, and that would be, in my opinion, even bigger of a pain. Let's see, does this have... Actually, not sure. This is a little bit, nah. Why is this? I think this is not. Why is this changing that so strangely? What should that even be? A grub device? Yeah, apparently I messed this also up so much to the only constant is change, and the only constant is change and regressions, and I, for whatever I previously, so like, probably answers my own questions. Should we fix one more thing? Like, as per usual, right? Fix one more thing, and in the meantime, like, fixed already 5 small little things because one thing and the other thing, and that doesn't match anymore, and here regression. Anyway, I hope you learned something. Leave in the comments below. I find this just, I would really have hoped that after 30 years of the development of the Linux kernel, with all like SGI involved early on anyway, DEC Alpha, IBM, Red Hat, SUSE, and Ubuntu and stuff, you would think the stuff is a little more integrated and coherent and canonicalized, but probably, yeah, it's a democracy, or it's a democracy led by the dictator. Dictator? Does he call himself that? Linus Torvalds. Anyway, probably Linus Torvalds is not using it personally, I guess, otherwise it probably would be more amazing. Anyway, leave in the comments below what you think. Did you have any issues with that? Do you care? What's your take? And that's it for the video. I hope you learned something. I will continue. I could continue live stream that. Leave in the comments below if I should live stream everything. Actually, we could Twitch that. Maybe if I feel like it, I later go live on Twitch. You probably could subscribe there already if you wanted to. And otherwise, hope you learned something. Have a good day, holiday and stuff. And see you next time for all this hopefully more polished stuff to come.